welcome back to the YouTube channel LearnRHEL. That's spelled LearnRHEL. This is for the audience of those users and administrators that want to learn how to actually engineer and administer solutions for Red Hat Enterprise Linux variants, such as Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS Stream, ALMA Linux, Rocky Linux, and so on. This video set is, albeit for Red Hat Linux, but if you are a user of Ubuntu or Debian variants, then you might get something out of this video as it pertains to audit, but there's no guarantee. All right, so I wanted to talk today about the next video in this mini series related to the AUDITD suite of software for monitoring your system and activities and tracking them, logging them. The idea here is the specific topic of the AUDITD configurations, the AUDITD.CONF more specifically, not the audit rules. We'll deal with that in another video later. So one of the things you want to do is audit as much as you can to keep track of any nefarious activity at any given point that the operating system is booting or past the bootstrap into the operating system is running, okay? And then when users are, after that, it's the state of being in the running condition, also any activities that they may be committing that you want to keep track of. So in order to do that, you want to actually start tracking all behaviors as soon as the OS starts. So the reason why we're on this particular page, this is the grub menu for just one grub menu entry, is I wanted to point out the fact that here, watch the moving cursor going across the screen, audit backlog limit 8192. This is something you can set in the audit.rules file through a parameter, but it's also being set explicitly here on the kernel. And then here, audit equals 1. This line from the line below here, sorry, it's not convenient to work with this particular menu since I don't have a ability to use a mouse and click around and highlight things. From here at this capital P all the way up to the word root, sorry, the Linux line here. All of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, technically with the last 3 characters, are all related to the kernel parameters. And the audit equals 1 is the most important part that says, hey, when the system's booting up from grub, make sure you enable audit right off the bat. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and boot the operating system, and as you can see in the screen here, it says hit Control X. So I'm going to hit Control X and get the OS to start actually bootstrapping. And this should take maybe a minute to do that, and then a couple more minutes to actually show me the GUI for logon. Okay. I'm going to hit the escape key so you can see what's going on in the background. And this is basically the plinth screen showing a listing of all the OK status, OK or stopped or failed or whatever for all those services as they output to a text terminal. And the reason why I wanted to show you that is those are all things that are running after audit has already been enabled from the grub menu. Okay, so now we got the GUI logon. I'm going to go ahead and log in with the non-root privileged user, but I do actually have the ability to escalate privilege by using sudo commands. The part you're seeing right now is not the important part. It was the black screen of the grub menu, and then after I get a terminal open and I get escalated privilege up to root, which you would normally probably not want to do if you're going to try and be as pristine as you can with all the commands and the way you handle the environment. But I'm doing this so we can have an easy demonstration of the concepts. Okay, so I'm going to open up a terminal window. Here we go. And I'm going to make sure you can see the text really large. By the way, if you don't know how to do this, click your mouse inside the terminal and then hit Control, Shift, and the plus sign key on the keyboard, and that will make the text screen and the screen resize. Sorry for that little window. That's because I'm using Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so now I'm going to sudo up to root. put in my password? No, I'm not going to tell you what that is. Come on. All right. And then let's go over the man page for AUDITD. Man AUDITD.CONF. Okay. Hit the enter key. And you'll see, hey, AUDITD.CONF is for controlling the audit daemon by way of the configuration file, AUDITD.CONF. The file /etc/audit/AUDITD.CONF contains configuration information specific to the audit daemon, period, not the rules, because there's another man page for audit.rules. You can have audit rules that have different names, as long as they end in .rules, but the AUDITD.CONF is the only one that controls the behavior of the daemon specifically. All right, so one more stuff I want to do is point out everything here from this point down that's highlighted in this area of this column is going to be an AUDITD.CONF parameter. And you want to read this for yourself. I'm not going to read to you, because I'm sure if you've gotten to this point, you're probably old enough to read for yourself. But local events, and there's a default setting, and the default setting is to yes. Log file, and you can see this keyword specifies the full path name to the log file where audit records will be stored. So when an event occurs based on the audit rules, it needs to be filtered and stored somewhere. So it's going to be stored in whatever is called out by the parameter log file in the definition that's at the AUDITD.CONF file. Write logs, should you write log files or not? Normally you want to do that anyway, so otherwise why would you be writing the audit daemon? Otherwise, maybe you're doing this so you can not write audit files locally, but maybe generate audit events and then have them sent across the network to another machine collecting them, i.e. a SIEM, S-I-E-M. Log format. As you can see, there's references to raw and enriched. If set to raw, the audit records will be stored in a format exactly as the kernel sends it. Okay, that's really easy to understand. It's very relative, isn't it? The enriched option will resolve all UID, GID, syscall, architecture, and socket address information before writing the event to disk. This is almost like saying, hey, we have some table of references that we can resolve a number to a name, a GID number to a group's name, a syscall number to a syscall by name. And there's all different kinds of ways to find this. Actually, hopefully I will remember to make a video at some point on the AU syscall command where you can get a listing and see what the numbers are for 32-bit and 64-bit calls and what name they're associated with. In reality, you really care about the name, you don't care about the number, but if you're trying to keep your audit logging small in terms of the text capacity, then you probably want to use the word raw instead of the word enriched as the value given to the parameter log format. All right. As you can see, the no log option is actually called out, but it says it is deprecated. So in other words, stop trying to use it and get caught up with using the term raw versus enriched. Log group. This is something I want to spell out for you. The default is set to root, so that when you go into var log audit / audit.log, look at those logs in the var log audit directory, and you do a log listing, ls space -l, then what you'll see is typically root as the user and root as the group name that owns the var log audit.log files, even after they've been rotated with a log rotation. The reason why I point this out is because if you're using Splunk or some other SIEM, at times you might want to have that SIEM have access to the log files without running the daemon as a separate user. So by doing that, you're basically giving typical Linux, standard Linux permissions to the file, so long as you turn on readability in the group byte of the permissions. Okay, and whatever you set that log group by name to is what the log files will have ownership by. But typically, plain vanilla installation, you're going to have basically root the owner and root the group. Priority boost, you can read this for yourself. Flush. Valid arguments to the flush parameter are none, incremental, incremental async, data, and sync. Now read more for this yourself, but you set it to none. No special effort is made to flush audit records to the disk, which Not so cool. You want to make sure every audit event gets recorded. So probably happen as soon as it occurs. Yes, your CPU usage will go up a little bit, but then you won't have any data loss unless your hard drive goes bad. And that can happen, but not very likely, right? If you set your parameter of flush equal to incremental, then that means you need to also set the freq parameter, which is spelled out down here. All right, a little bit more further down. I'm going to point out the things that are standard things to check for and look out for and customize for your own purposes. Num logs, in other words, the number, the quantity of logs to keep. Name format. This is if you have a server with a name like this, but it's also got another nickname, but you want to see that nickname in the remote server that's logging your audit events, then you want to set name underscore format to that value, and you want to make sure that name underscore format is not, I repeat, not hashed out in your AUDITD.CONF on this machine. This is used for this machine to know what name to send to the other machine when it's sending its own audit events. Okay, so we've got the num logs covered in terms of the number of logs we will keep total. I'll point out some details for you when this happens. Name format, name, max log file. Max log file is actually referring to the maximum capacity of disk capacity being stored. And right here, it says in megabytes. Okay, so just remember, whatever number you give max log file is in megabytes. Max log file action, so when you hit the max log file number plus 1, so if you have max log file set to 8, and then you hit 9 megabytes, max log file action will take an action of any of these defined values. You can read these for yourself. They're all spelled out here in this paragraph. The one that's most commonly used is max log file action, and then trying to do a rotate. But then you want to keep your logs, and you also want to make sure you don't always shut your system down to a single user mode, because the application that's running on that server in the first place, maybe it's print services, maybe it's a website or a web Java application or something like that. That means that application is no longer working, which means if it's providing a service to your enterprise for your users, it's no longer going to be available. If you're load balancing, you have a little bit more resiliency, but if you're not, that means that this could actually take you down in terms of that behavior. So just be aware of that. Verify email, action mail account, space left. This is another important one. Space left, as you approach the maximum saturation point of the given file system, which in a lot of cases now is the var/log/audit file system. When you get close to 100%, then space left will be defined based on how much of that 100%, towards that 100%, do you want to start complaining to what's left over. Space left is based on how much space is left free. So you set space left equal to either a numerical value of megabytes or whatever, or to a percentage left of the file system. So if you have a small drive, you probably want to make sure that the tolerances are a slightly larger percentage. If you have a multi-terabyte drive and you're going to store tons of data in there, and you're a SIM, you want to take this very seriously because you don't want to lose any audit data, right? That's why this is an important parameter. Space left action. So when you do saturate this point, this percentage by 1, or the megabytes by 1, then you need to make sure that you have an action, a contingency of what you're going to do when you hit that number. Okay. You can email. Why would you do that? You need to be proactive when you're getting close to that range, not when you've hit that range. You can rotate. You can syslog, basically send a message into varlog messages, and for every minute or so that the space left is being exceeded, you'll get a message into varlog messages. But what happens if you go over the weekend? If you're not working for a commercial group and you don't have like a pager, or somebody doesn't have the pager for the weekend, and you don't have this number and this parameter set appropriately, you'll end up having the loss of services over the weekend. You come in and have a miserable Monday because you weren't able to be proactive and prevent the problem before it actually occurred. Admin space left and admin space left action is similar in parity. The reason why we keep these is so that we don't cause any harm to the operating system. Okay? Disk full action, disk error action, This is where the majority of the audit configurations are general and very important. And then the TCP listen port, obviously these are all network associated type of terms. LibWrap, this is referred to the use of TCP wrappers, kind of a really old legacy predecessor to firewalls on a given host-based system. I don't know that anybody really uses it except for on the really old Linux systems running like RHEL 6 or even older. Hopefully most people are off those really old major versions of Linux or even Debian that are using LibWrap, because it's better to be using a host-based firewall such as Firewall D or IP tables or something along those lines in terms of net filters. Also, if you have a network-based firewall, a next-generation firewall, then you really probably don't need to be worried about this. But hey, you need to decide that for yourself with your team and to figure out, do you want to be using TCP wrappers or do you want to be using a modern firewall type of protection for your host? Okay, I'm not going to go over the rest of this. I'll just keep scrolling down. You can enable Kerberized authentication for logging. That's pretty intense stuff. Personally, I will tell you I've never done it. Maybe at one of these points I will try and figure it out and maybe make a video on that as well. The rest of the stuff looks pretty extensive. Okay, so where is the AUDITD.CONF? It's in Etsy audit directory, and we've already seen this, right? We put it out in the previous video. There's audit.rules. This is what rules are actually loaded, and what we are concerned about is the AUDITD daemon and its configurations and how we can force it to behave. So let's ignore all of this and focus on the AUDITD.conf file. So I'm going to do a less on AUDITD.conf. And here we go. Recognize parameters. They're all listed here, all of them, all the way down to the name format and the queue depth that you saw and the KRB5 principal. But basically where we are really concerned is from this line up. Oops. Silly VirtualBox getting in my way again. From basically this line up, these parameters are what's important. Log underscore file equals /var/log/audit is the path. Audit.log is going to be the exact name of what file is going to be regularly updated every few seconds or minute or so when the audit rules are triggered to cause an event to be recorded. Okay, let's remember this. Let's remember this. Incremental async. So because of that, we were told frequency has to be non-zero. There we go. It's non-zero. It's 50. Max log file of 300. That's 300 megabytes. And then num logs is 30. The quantity of files to keep versus the size of those files at which we hit 301, not 300.1, 301 megabytes, that log file is going to rotate in the middle of the day. My hope is, the way I work is, I want the maximum log file size here to be set so that my audit log file on an average performance and typical behavior of the system type of a day, 24-hour period, is I get one log file rolled once per day. Because if I see two log files for a given date stamp, then I'm concerned that there might be a lot more going on and I need to get suspicious about nefarious activities. But I also have to take into consideration the constraints of the var log audit file system, or wherever this directory may reside. Perhaps audit is actually under var log file system, or perhaps the audit is actually under the var file system, which in the old days, this was true. As 10 years ago, this was true. And then sometime in the last 8 years, this became more true. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and quit out of the file here. CD over to var log audit directory. I'm going to do ls minus lh for a purpose. And wow, let me go ahead and shrink this down. Here we go. So we have in here a total of 30 log files. Audit.log is 1. Audit.log.1 on top of that is 2. And then 2 would be 3. And then 3 is 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That would be the 10th one. And then 10 through 19, 20 through 29. Why is there no .30? It's because we have .1 through 29 plus the current active log file. That's where that quantity limitation of 30 comes in. All right, so let me do a df-h also on /var/log/audit. And that's because I'm doing a df-h really on the directory, but I'm also trying to determine if this is a separate file system, and then what are the criteria of the capacity, sorry, what are the specifications of the var log directory in terms of what's going on here. So var log audit came back being listed here as mounted on /var log audit, which means this is actually a file system. Good, that's what I wanted. And we can see it's associated with a logical volume. That's the name of it. And then the size of the logical volume associated with the file system var log audit is limited to 5.0 gigabytes. So what that means is for 30 log files, a 30-day period, a 720-hour period, I have to make sure I don't exceed 5 gigabytes, because if I do, now I don't have space to record more important information over time. So 30-day month or 31-day month, let's take a look at that. Quickly pull up a calculator, and I'm going to put 5,120 because that's 5 gigabytes. Oops, that didn't work for me. 5,120, and then I'm going to divide that by 31 for like a large month, like July. That's the month we're in July, and then hit the equal sign. So in reality, I probably don't want my log files to get any larger than 165.1 megabytes, but I've been doing this long enough. I know that my system doesn't go crazy. I leave it at 300. But at work, I have systems that will generate more than a gig of data, of audit log data in a given day. Got so much going on. Okay, so this is the reason why I use this kind of calculation. I got to take this number and divide it by the number of days in the given month. I go with 31 because it's a large month. 31 times the size will give me a larger than the, whatever capacity I need to confirm that I want to keep. And I got to make sure that I'm still staying within the confines of this file system limitation. All right. Now the other thing is, if you notice, all of these log files are rotated at midnight. All of these from here down. These were all rotated at midnight. Now, when I had set this up back in, I think, March, I was ready to do a video, but then personal time got in the way. A lot of things going on. So basically, I had a bunch of log files I had rotated in different parts of the day. I had deliberately made sure that log files grew larger or smaller throughout the time. As you can see, 243 megabytes is the largest any log file has been, and that was back in June 5th of last month. So these are all the things that you, as an engineer or a system administrator of a system running Linux like this, that you've been told, hey, keep all audit data. These are the things you have to be concerned about. The audit daemon, what it's looking for, how it's going to behave, and how well it's going to control the creation and rotation of these audit.log. Now there's one more thing. What generates these audit.logs files so that they rotate at midnight is being handled by a cron job out of root's cron tab, not the etc cron tab, but the var spool cron root file, and we can see what's in there by doing cron tab -L instead of using VI. And we can see here, I have a comment line, it wraps, and then I have this line, 00, ***, and then the execution of this script. This means at midnight, every day, every month, of every week, of every day of the week. So I can say midnight only on Mondays or midnight only on Mondays through Fridays. Why would I do that? Let's just keep a log file for every single day. Hope that we don't exceed the limitation of the var log file system as I rotate 30 of these, 29 plus the current log file, and then we should be good. Okay, so finally, the best part is I want to point out that the audit.d.cron actually gets executed at midnight, but that needs to be shown to you as what that does. I had shown this to you before in a previous video, let's call it the summary or synopsis video, but I want to keep pointing this out because a lot of people don't know about this script, and it's free. It comes with the operating system, but it's not put into place for you. In other words, this script wasn't put into user local SBIN by anybody but me. It comes with the operating system. I didn't write the script. It comes with the audit packages, the audit RPMs. And in it is this script from here to here. And that's what it does, is at midnight, it's executed as you saw from the cron job. The SBIN service command against audit D with an argument of rotate is executed. And then as a result, it's captured to the parameter called exit value with the result parameter. And if that value does not equal 0, in other words, if it was not successful, then you need to run the logger command and specify the type of facility you're associated with, and then putting out a log entry with its, again, the same parameter value being printed out into the var log messages file. And that's it. That's the end of this particular video, and the next one will be more along the lines of looking at the audit rules and getting those generated, because that's going to be another component of the nexus of what makes the audit daemon so powerful and so useful. Thank you very much.